Hey there, Tad Hargrave from marketingforhippies.com, and I wanted to record this video about why marketing feels bad so often. If you've been following my work for a while, you know that one of the main reasons I think marketing feels terrible is because there's this hidden agenda to get the sale. It's never talked about, but everything that we're doing is sort of angling towards getting people to say yes. And if they say yes, we've succeeded. If they say no, we failed. And that's just the algebra of a lot of modern marketing and selling. And I see marketing more as a filtering mechanism, where we're just trying to make it easy for the right people to say yes if they want to, and to kind of filter out anyone who's not a fit as quickly as possible so nobody's time gets wasted. But there is another connected reason why marketing often feels terrible, which is that we don't have permission to do it, or we're not sure. And we feel uneasy about the marketing because we're not sure if we've got permission, and they feel terrible about it because they know we didn't get permission. So Seth Godin, God bless him, he wrote a book called Permission Marketing. But if you Google permission marketing, there's a little essay where he talks about it. But the idea is the day when you could just get somebody's business card at a networking event and add them to your email list and start emailing them, that's, so far gone. We're at least a decade beyond that. And yet people still do it. I still find myself being added to people's email lists without permission. And then I wonder, how did I get on this list? Why am I getting this email? It doesn't feel good. So when people don't get your consent, you can see where this also relates to other things in life. When people don't check in to get your consent to see if they can do something, there's a presumptiveness, there's an assumption, there's an immense lack of courtesy in that whole move. So you can do a lot worse than just checking in and getting consent. So what that looks like is, instead of just getting their business card and adding them to your email list at a networking event, you email them after the event. You say, hey, it was so good to meet you, and here's a free thing, a blog post or a TED Talk I thought was relevant to our conversation, an ebook, or just a thought I had based on a conversation. But you start with giving something. You start this idea of being a generosity-based business, and then you say, if you'd like, I could add you to my email list, and then you'll be kept up to date on when I'm in your town or things I'm thinking about. And I found a lot of times people say yes to that. And if they don't, they say, what, I'm already swamped with email. Hey, I get it. But hey, if you'd like to stay up to date on what I do, here's my Facebook page, etc. Then the whole interaction feels really good. But when people, I was in Kelowna, I did a workshop, and I went to lunch. When I came back to the venue, there was a fellow there who was a realtor who'd left his business card with a pen, branded pen with his name and website on it, on everyone's chair. So everyone had his card and a pen, and I looked at it and I just said to him, you have to remove those, I'm sorry. Because he didn't ask for permission from me or any of the people there to do it. And especially because I'm the host of this event. I'm the one that gathered. They all came from me, not him. And he was hijacking it, and there was no courtesy. If he'd said, look, would you be up for me doing this? I probably would have said no. But he might have talked to me in advance and courted my, endorsement of his work. And I might have been really impressed with him and say, hey, look, I just want you to know, I've been talking with this realtor and I'm really impressed with what I've heard. And so, I just want you to know that about him. I might have been willing to do that. But when there's no permission gained, I host potlucks here in my home. Right in there. Dozens and dozens of potlucks have been hosted over the years. And twice now, at my potlucks, people have just used it as a chance to promote their business. And there's nothing about my potluck that says professional networking. There's a space where everyone introduces themselves and what they're up to, but not everyone has a business. In fact, most don't. But twice now, people have kind of used their time to introduce themselves, to pitch their business or something that's coming up, and then literally started getting people's emails. Like, so much as passing around a piece of paper where people can sign up for their email list. And both times I've had to check in and say, it's not all right. Because you didn't ask permission from me, the host, and it's kind of assumptive. They didn't come there for that. Or you go to an intro workshop and then you find yourself stuck in a huge pitch. That's like most of the workshop. And you're like, oh, I thought I'd signed up for something different. So it's the bait and switch. Bait and switch is another way of not getting permission. You promise one thing, but then you deliver another. I think it's why a lot of these strategy sessions feel terrible. People say, hey, come, we'll do a free hour-long coaching session. But of course, the way it's run often is not an hour-long coaching session. It ends up being an hour-long, subtly framed pitch. Hey, well, where do you want to be? Where are you now? What's in the gap? Here's how I can help you. Not that that can't be useful. That can actually be a very useful conversation to have. But if it's done with the intention to get the sale, it's going to feel off. So, there's that as a way. And I remember I've hosted some colleagues for teleseminars, and one of them, he was actually pretty much just reading off his sales letter. The teleseminar promised all these things, but those things never really appeared. There was so little content. There was a lot of, here's who I am, here's my story, here's the content we're going to cover, here's why it matters so much, here's a story of how this came to be. Tiny bit of content. And if you want to learn more, here. And it's so insulting to people's intelligence. It's so lacking courtesy. So we've got to get people's permission. But to get their permission, we need to let them know, here's what it is. Consent means, with knowledge or with feeling, another way of looking at it, but with knowledge, meaning they know in advance what they're getting into. So this, to me, is marketing. We're as clear with people as possible about the situation. And that can look like, as simple as in the workshops, letting people know, about halfway through I'll tell you about some of the things coming up. When we come back from the break, I'll tell you about some of the workshops. Even letting people know that that's coming. Or if you do those discovery sessions, letting people know it's like, hey, a lot of the reason I do this is obviously it's a way to get clients, but it's a way for us to see if it's a fit. It's a way for me to see if you're a fit for me, but also a way for me to see if you're a fit. It's both ways. You're checking me out, I'm checking you out. It's that. So if you're really clear that you would never want to hire me or work with me, this is probably not the best thing for you. But it's not a pitch, but it is that filtering. And so that's part of why I do it, is to get clients. You can just be so upfront with people. Anyways, there's a lot more to say about the point of doing intro workshops, which I think is fundamentally about communicating your point of view so people can see if it's a fit for them. There's a lot to say about how you would filter somebody before they even become somebody who would do a strategy session, before they ever get to that point. Ways you might filter people out who will never become a client for you, which I think are important. There's a lot to say. But all of it is, whenever we're about to do something, did people give consent to this? Did people say, hey, that's something I want, I'm open to that? Because I remember, last story, this video is longer than I thought it was going to be, Jay Abraham, Abraham.com, he's an amazing marketer, kind of one of the gurus of the gurus, and he had this program called the Mastermind Marketing Training I went to years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And he said, look, in the marketing for this program, I'm going to make the marketing have more content, more value than most people's workshops. So if you'd like to sign up for that, enter your email here and you'll be a part of the marketing. And it was true. It was incredible content that he was offering in the lead up. A lot of free education, a lot of free PDFs and stuff that was genuinely more useful than some workshops I've been to. But he got people's permission. He's like, you're not going to get any of these emails, you're not going to get any of this if you don't sign up. But if you think you might be interested and you kind of just want to be courted into this, and let me make my case. Let me make my best case. One of my colleagues in Vancouver, Joel Solomon, he often has people really waste his time. They'll schmooze him. It's like, hey Joel, how you doing? And he can tell there's a pitch coming, but it takes a long time. And he said, I would much rather just like, hey Joel, I got this idea. I'd love to get some funding. See if you might be interested in funding it. Can you give me like 5 minutes to pitch, to make my case? He's much more likely, and I'd be much more likely to say, all right, great, 5 minutes, go. I'll give my consent to 5 minutes. But when you find yourself in a situation where it's like, You know, I think a lot of us can relate to this. You hang out with someone, you're like, wait, are we hanging out, or is this a date in their mind? What's going on? But they won't say that they're interested in you or attracted to you, and it just starts to be weird. So it's like, my friend of mine, I went for coffee with a friend, somebody she just met at a coffee shop, and they struck up a really great conversation, and she's like, we should meet for coffee. And within 5 minutes, she was in a presentation for Amway, which of course is not called Amway anymore, whatever the hell it's called now. And it was so offensive. She hadn't given consent to be in a pitch. You know, but if people say, yeah, give me 5 minutes, or if somebody says, like, look, I've got this, it's a business opportunity, it's a multi-level thing, I know what that brings up, you probably hate it, but would you give me 5 minutes, because I think you might actually like it, yourself in particular. If you do that, people might just say yes, and then it's totally clean. So, okay, man, I was going to make this one of my shortest videos, but now it's one of my longest videos ever. So that's what I have to say about that. Get permission, get consent to market to people, and I think you'll find it feels better for them and better for you.